Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another AIMBOT. Am I morally bankrupt or them? I think it's them. I think it definitely is them. But hey, we're here to find out. Welcome back to another episode. If you haven't been with us before, welcome for the first time. Give a big shout out in the chat and we will say hello. Welcome to Left-Handed Jedi, who I see is already here. And Andrew is already lurking in the background, ready to pounce, as he always is. So welcome back. I like to open these up by sort of looking. I looked at the news this morning and just went, holy crap! Like I want to share this news with you just because it's come out, and I just like wow, like holy crap! Like I cannot even with this news, seriously. And yeah, I do apologize. It's gonna have the orange dictator in it, but I apologize. And big thing, this is Guardian that I usually look at because Guardian's usually pretty neutral as far as I'm concerned. President says not possible to have trials to everyone he wants to deport. I think the Supreme Court just ruled that he couldn't do this, and already he's sort of saying, no, I can. He says he's entitled to deport people without trials. I don't think he is. I think the Supreme Court just said he wasn't. So I don't know what this is. This is from 3 hours ago. He's also gone ahead and lifted tariffs on China. He says that he won't play hardball with China. Yeah, I said last week that these tariffs that he's putting on China is way worse for America than it is for China. So why would China back down? He's backed down because, of course, he has. Someone's managed to get to him and say, hey, this is going to be really bad for us and not that bad for China. Like, it's going to be way worse for us than it is for China. And I don't even. Wow. Like, absolutely ridiculous that he's sort of backed down on this. This is a bullying tactic. Like, he's just tried to bully China of all countries and then back down as soon as he realizes that he's going to get smacked in the face. You know, like, China's not going to back down and it's going to be worse for him. So he's saying, well, I'm going to decide to. No, you are forced to. Like, come on. What is going on? I also want to point out, I just want to share this because I found this while I was scrolling and it's hilarious. Like, AI ads are getting ridiculous, right? I just want to point this out. I mean, we all know this is Ark Encounter, right? Western Australia has one of the worst tourist traps in America. It sure does, right? Are AI ads getting out of control? Are AI ads like failing miserably? Yes, I have the evidence. Western Australia has one of the worst tourist traps in America. Avoid at all costs. I want to find out what this is. I'm gonna click on the sponsored link. Touring the US. Yeah, no, it's really related to Western Australia. Yeah, this is pretty bad. Pretty bad, right? That's absolutely terrible. I don't, like, seriously. Like, this is best avoided. Entertainment. Yeah, it's just Roswell, New Mexico. I wasn't aware that was in Western Australia. Who knew? Who knew? Utah. Okay. Seattle's gum wall. All right, that's actually gross. That's pretty gross, I must admit. Maria Grove. Look, the best Western Australia has. Hang on a sec. I'll find a tourist trap in Western Australia that isn't that great. I think it's a gnome garden. We have a gnome garden, like Gnomesville, I think it's called. Ferguson Valley. That sounds right. That sounds right. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Excuse me. I feel a little under the weather today. I do apologize. A little under the weather. I'll get it together. Look, yeah. So this is Gnomesville. Like, I tell you, it's kind of, I've been there. Like, everyone just leaves garden gnomes there. It's just something that sprung up organically. And there's just gnomes everywhere. Like, so many. I wonder if I can find some more pictures of it. Like there's all this. Yeah, this is a picture of it. Apparently some Perth girl is exploring it. Hello. Oh, I can't zoom in on that one. All right, how weird. How weird. Okay, so there we go. So Gnomesville, like there's just gnomes frigging everywhere. Like I don't know. It's kind of creepy, I gotta say. It's kind of creepy. It began in the 1990s after a local resident placed a single garden gnome in the hollow of a tree. Since then, gnomes have been placed in the area. Yeah, and it's just 4,000 plus gnomes and increasing. It's pretty wild. There's just gnomes everywhere. Perth girl. Okay, hello Perth girl. I don't gnome detention center. Okay, all right. Like so that's the kind of humor I expect from West Australians, quite frankly. Gnomesville Detention Center. Yep, yep. And this is it. This is the kind of thing. And big shout out to Perth girl who is apparently exploring. Total nomination. Okay, that's a good pun. I like it. I like it. I like it. Central area of Gnomesville with a picnic area. I don't think Perth girls are easy. I don't think that at all. Wow. Okay, that's a gnome. That's a gnome right there. Okay. Do I have to censor that for YouTube? Like it's just tons and tons and tons of gnomes. Like this is the one of the attractions. Dude, I'd be wary. I'd be 100% wary about that. Okay. Gnome murder. Okay, so that's not a gnome, that's a smurf. Someone didn't get the required reading. Someone did not get the message. That is not a gnome, that is 100% a smurf and kind of, horrifying. That's not a gnome, that's probably Confucius, I would say. Okay. I think that's Oprah. Maybe it's Nomepra. Okay, I'm trying. Right. Gnome hunters, and we will show you no mercy. Oh, these are such good puns, Perth girl. Why are you so good puns? No mercy. Oh, that is so good. I love that. Look, I did a series on a gaming channel. I did this series on playing D&D with Justin from over at Skeptic Spin, and the gnome puns were out of control because I was playing a gnome, and these are great. I consider myself somewhat of a aficionado of gnome puns, and these are fantastic. No mercy, that is too good. I love it. Motorcycle club. Motorcycle club that has a gnome stripper. Okay, all right. Donnybrook ladies hockey trollops. Okay, if you're unaware, a trollop's kind of a Duncraig Senior High School. Okay, I went there. Holy crap. I went to Duncraig Senior High School at one point. Lower Hotham Fire. Seemingly infinite. Oh my God, even ET in a tree. All right. So that's Gnomesville by Perth Girl. Thank you, Perth Girl. I don't know who that is, but thank you for that. Those gnome puns. They are fantastic. Gnome puns for the win. For the win. Yeah, that's some gnomey stuff right there. So yeah, that is the gnomes. You've got a gnome themed coffee table book, but that's effing creepy. It is. I've been there. It's actually like, it's kind of, here's the thing. It's interesting because of the wide diversity of garden gnomes that people have put there. Like some are like the Bikers Club and they're weird. So you kind of want to see what people have put there kind of thing. But at the same time, it is kind of creepy. Like it is kind of odd. And, the fact that you've got gnomes killing other gnomes and stuff, it's kind of, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. It's very, very strange. Okay. All right. Well, I think it's time to get into it. I didn't have a lot prepared. I just wanted to mention Like the incredible stuff that's going on. Like seriously, Trump says he won't play hardball with China. Yeah, because he's gonna lose. He's gonna lose. Like I mentioned this last week. It's worse on US than it is on China. So why would China sort of not increase their tariffs as well? Who knows? And then today, it's just madness. It really is. But can we just stop for a second and realize that this guy came into office and he promised lower prices on everything, and they've gone up. He's promised that the war in Ukraine would be over, and it's still going. He promised he'd sort out Israel, which, you know, nobody believed that, but it's still going. Like everything he... How much can some person lie to you, some politician lie to you, and you still believe that they're going to make good on all their promises? I don't know. Gnome Dome. 2 gnomes enter, only 1 leaves. I'm trying to think of what my best gnome pun on that series was. I do know that I was making all kinds of puns on that series. There was one that I called Clerical Error that I was very, very proud of. Very, very proud of. Because there was a cleric in the party. I called it Clerical Error. I was very, very, very proud of that pun, I must admit. I think my favorite was something. It was something like proper nomenclature, right? Like that was probably my favorite. Proper nomenclature. I'll put it in the chat for you. Proper nomenclature. Yeah. And I had a lot of, like, Justin was playing a bard, so I had a lot of bard puns as well. Like bard news travels fast, you know, kind of stuff. Look, it was a thing that we did. You know, 2 people and a dog watched it. It was a lot of fun hanging out with Justin, though, I must admit. So yeah, what a guy. I think I might jump straight into the am I morally bankrupt or you, or am I the a-hole in Reddit. So let me get it up. Now, if you've never joined us before, none of these are curated. I haven't selected them ahead of time. They are new to me. I just grabbed them off Am I the Asshole on Reddit, and then we go and do some moral investigation to who is in the right, who is in the wrong, just for some fun, just for some laughs, just for some sometimes horror, sometimes incredulity over why somebody would put this on the internet. But hey, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think we used that one. Yeah, absolutely. No, I love it. I loved it. But probably nomenclature was my best work. My best work. Yeah. And there was stuff like No Place Like Gnome, and you know, Gnome is where the heart is. You know, like stuff like that. You know, just stuff like that. Because why not? You know, why not? If you're going to make gnome puns, you've got to do it right. You know. I'm tired today, so I do apologize. But now these aren't selected; they're not curated. I just take first come, first served on the Reddit poll. Really, we're looking. I use secular humanism to evaluate moral situations. You might use something different, but really, I'm interested in why you make the who's in the right and who's in the wrong, not just who it is. I have to do the list for the poll, so give me 1 second. You're in a mood today. Okay, aren't you? I get you. You're in a mood. Is that like, that doesn't really say anything. Is it a good mood? Is it a bad mood? I'm presuming it's bad because you're refraining from telling me. So I assume that you're in a bad mood, because if it was good, you would have said good. You know, I'm assuming it automatically becomes bad. I'll say totally wrong. Brr. But because aren't Jers in a mood, I'll start putting exclamation marks. Everyone. Just for you, Archer. I'll include some exclamation marks just for you. Okay, gotcha. All right, let's go. All right, first off the block, am I the ass? Am I the asshole for that's not look, it's just AITA. It's not, there's no H, okay? There's no H. It's one word. Asshole is one word. Come on now. To try. Jeez Louise. Like seriously, why? You can't. Oh, okay. I'm very confused. Okay. Am I the asshole for choosing my roommate's business over a big family reunion after how my family reacted? You're basically saying, is it okay to miss a family reunion if I'm mad at my family? And I think the answer is yes. I mean, if it's something very petty, then maybe not. But I think always, like, if your family's treating you badly, they're not acting like family, and therefore they shouldn't be treated like family. You're in a plow through everything, skip through the neighbor's garden, sowing seeds of chaos mood. Okay, well, yeah. And you're a moderator on my chat. This lines up perfectly, I gotta say. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't see, so things like family reunions, family dinners, family meetings, family stuff. I think that in a certain sense, you would say, yes, family's important, but if they are not acting like family, then they're not family. I think that family is people that treat you with love and respect. If you're angry at something they're doing, then it's always okay, because you've got to have those boundaries on people that are treating you badly, even if that is your biological family. Sorry, that's what it's like. It's like nothing that you shouldn't have to put up with things that are unacceptable just because somebody is related to you. It seems ridiculous to me, but I'm not a big family guy, I must admit. About 3 years ago, I left my ex. Okay. He wasn't a horrible guy or anything, but I was unhappy. Well, breakups can do that. Breakups can do that. Sure. He was obsessed with a video game. I bet it was WoW. Who thinks that the video game was WoW? I did my time in WoW. Never again. Like, seriously. I think that game is like, crack cocaine. It's absolutely terrible. It was obsessed with a video game and did some weird things on it. Okay, maybe it wasn't WoW, although it very possibly could have been. I mean, I would understand if, like, you had people on World of Warcraft, right? If you're unfamiliar with World of Warcraft, it's a massively multiplayer online role-playing game. So it's basically Blizzard's World of Warcraft was sort of the original big, massively multiplayer. You might argue RuneScape, you might argue a few different things, but I think World of Warcraft was really the big one that really took off. It was the first, absolutely mega one. So with these things, I think that people had some weird conceptions. They sort of had their home life and then they had their online life. People would be, marrying people in the game kind of thing. They would have a cleric class sort of officiate a in-game wedding, and they were, had a girlfriend or boyfriend in real life, but they were just married in the game. It's kind of weird to me that would be doing that, but that kind of thing went on. It was weird. And what brings up to me is something like Second Life. If you're unaware of Second Life, it is said people that play Second Life need a first. Like, seriously, it's wild. It's wild. We had a dead bedroom and he wouldn't work on it. Wow. Okay. And we just shifted into roommates. Really? Yeah. I think that's something that you would be fair to say. Hey, I'm not happy with this situation. Wow, I feel sorry for this person. Their love life is totally killed by a game. Look, I've never been that into a game where I would pass up sex. Like, I wouldn't. Oh, you think it was Rocket League? Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. Rocket League. Really? I don't think so. I don't know. Rocket League? I don't think that's that addictive, to be honest with you. Mind you, I haven't really played Rocket League, so I can't really say. It's never really appealed to me. I don't know, but I've never been in that position where I've like, oh no, honey, I can't get it on. I need to finish this kind of thing. I don't think I've ever been in that position. Maybe at one point, but I certainly wouldn't be playing it so often that, you described as a dead bedroom. Wow. Okay. I didn't have enough. Leroy Jenkins. And if you haven't seen that clip, that is actually hilarious. That entire clip is really good. That's really good. That's a favorite of mine, Jedi. I gotta say, the old Leroy Jenkins. Leroy, you're stupid as hell. At least I got chicken. I'd asked members of my family if I could stay with them until I had things figured out and had a plan for roughly 1 month up to 2 months. They all declined, so I lived in my car for a while. Wow, okay. My family is big on pulling yourself up by the bootstraps. So I don't get pulling yourself up by the bootstrap. The whole point about the phrase pulling yourself up of the by the bootstraps is that you can't do it. It's impossible. It's like the Munchausen thing of okay, so there's a Munchausen thing of Baron Munchausen falling into mud, and then he pulls himself out of the mud by his own ponytail, right? It's an impossibility. You can't do it. So yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why. Oh, that's fair, Jessica. Totally fair. But I've been hardcore into video games at some points, some more than others. I don't think I would have ever been into a video game that much that I would describe like, the bedroom is dead kind of thing. I don't think that's a thing that I would ever do. I think it probably, there is a possibility that there was things wrong with the relationship, and the video game was a video game kind of, that's where he's going to avoid the problems in the bedroom or the problems in the living room or in the living situation. There's a possibility that there's other things at play. It's rarely that you will have a relationship where it's just, well, they are doing this thing and that's the entire problem. That's rarely the case. Usually something like this is, well, there's problems here, there's problems there, there's problems over here. And, somebody is going and working on their car instead of addressing them, or going and playing video games instead of addressing them, or, not communicating them and, going out of the house, to visit friends all the time, to not deal with the problems at home. It's rarely that that's just what they've decided to do. So, obviously it's a horrible relationship. I'm going to assume that she tried to figure things out and tried to work things through, but couldn't do so. But yeah, members of her family said they couldn't stay with her. Yeah, she had to live in her car, or he had to live in a car. I'm not sure if it's a guy or a girl, to be honest with you. Not 100% sure, but living in your car is rough. It's rough. No handouts, accept the consequence of your choices, etc. So I was not surprised. I did not have local friends to ask. Oh. No, that's fine. Whatever you're happy with, Aunt Jer. Like, I don't look. I once was really interested in a girl, and I met her family at a park, and like I was just quietly doing crosswords, right? I really loved crosswords at one point in my life. I still do like them, but she said I was boring and I just wasn't any fun and all this stuff, and I was really hurt, kind of thing. I don't know. I don't, what's boring for one person isn't to another. So I don't think that you can just say, well, that's boring to me, so it's boring. I don't think that's a thing. I think that some things that people find boring, other people find incredibly interesting. I think it's just a personal thing. I don't like it when people say, hey, I'm boring. It's like, well, no, you just have interests that others, don't share, and that's fine. other people in the world will share them and think that that's incredibly interesting. Never understand gamers. Why would anyone watch someone playing a game? I can watch others playing a game, Tilting. So I understand it. I could say the same, like, but here's the thing. I don't understand why people would want to watch sport. You could extend the same thing to sport. Like, I don't understand people that play sport. What's worse is somebody watching another person play sport. You could say exactly the same thing. So I don't sort of accept that one. Because I can watch people play games, definitely. Thankfully, after a few months, my high school friend Penny moved back to town and invited me to be her roommate, and that's where I am now. There you go. Okay, so you're in a roommate. I mean, presumably the bedroom's as dead as ever, but hey, there's possibilities there at least. Now for the conflict, lol. Okay, well, I mean, sometimes you got to laugh, right? Sometimes you got to laugh. Over the years, various friends of mine have become temporarily homespeaking. A gap between one lease ending and starting. Yeah, I absolutely get where they're coming from. I just let them sleep on my couch for the couple of weeks. Yeah, and I would do the same, Jess. I've been in the rental market, and it's rough. It's rough, especially when someone just decides they're going to sell the place from under you, and your lease is coming up, and it's just like you've got, once we were told, I think it was like 1 week before the lease ended, that the lease was ending. Like, they just said, hey, we're not going to renew it. And it's just like, okay, you could have told us that earlier, but sure. And that was rough. That was rough. I get where you're coming from. My mum asked me what I was doing in August because they were trying to get everyone to Florida for a family reunion. Of course it's Florida. It's always Florida. They had made reservations and things under the assumption I'd go. Well, that's a big assumption, right? Yeah, okay. So they had reservation thing. Why would you make reservations under the assumption someone would go? Like, seriously. A while ago, Penny asked me if I could help her out at the craft fairs this year. She does 10 to 15 of them, and it's a big to-do. She sells gorgeous jewelry and ceramics. I gladly accepted. Yeah, it sounds like Penny's awesome. I like Penny. I don't know who she is, but she sounds awesome. She does craft fairs with jewelry and ceramics. That's awesome. I told my mum that I had plans over the summer and wouldn't be able to come. She got angry with me and asked me what plans could be better than a trip to Florida. Well, it is like I could think of many things that would be better than a trip to Florida. Am I misjudging Florida? Is Florida that good, or does it just appeal to a certain type of person? Help me, my American friends. Tell me, is Florida that good, or is this just some people think Florida is the duck's nuts and just it's overrated? Let me know. Let me know. I explained what I'd be doing, and she scoffed. What? You won't enter a red state? Okay, gotcha. No, that's fair. That's fair. I get you, especially lately. You have a speech about the joys and interests in watching professional sport. Look, the only sport that I watch is robot fighting. I think it's awesome. I like the different types of mechanics and engineering in it. It appeals to me, but other sports just don't. Just don't. Yeah, no, I get you. I get you. I'll leave the comments for the end, like I usually do. But I hear you. I really do. I'm sitting there thinking, why would you assume somebody's going to something, even if that is your daughter or whatever? Like, you can't. She's an adult now. She will RSVP herself. You don't RSVP for anybody else. If they're your under your care, totally get it. Like if she's 10 or something. But excuse me, I do apologize. That sneeze came up hard and fast. I gotta say, hey, no innuendo in the chat, please. That sneeze came up hard, so fast. the way I like it. No innuendo. Stop. But yeah, if you've got like somebody who's under your care, RSVPing for them, like if they're a 10-year-old, I get it. Like, you know, you have authority over them. But like somebody that you don't, like, why would you RSVP for them? Seriously, that's ridiculous. Much less book in a reservation for them without even consulting. This is a lot of, I see this a lot where sort of families still think that children are their, they have authority over their children, that they have some sort of, you know, they've grown up in their house. They've been able to tell them what to do and how to do it. They move out of home. They're an adult and they still think they have their authority. You don't. You absolutely don't. It's very touristy. People are attracted to beaches. Oh, that's fair. I mean, I'm from a place that has gorgeous beaches, absolutely gorgeous beaches. Absolutely gorgeous beaches. So I can understand that. It just, I guess I wouldn't go to Florida because we've got our own, you know, absolutely gorgeous beaches. I told my mum that I had plans over the summer and wouldn't be able to come. She got angry with me and asked me what plans could be. Yeah, she scoffed. She told me probably the last time would get to be with some of the older family. She said I had no sense of familial obligation. Well, no, once you moved out of home, you don't really have that much familial obligation, especially if they've got no obligation to help you out. Suddenly there's a family obligation for me to pay to travel to Florida and spend time with people who wouldn't even help me out when I needed it. I went to family dinners where at the end of the night, I'd leave and go sleep in my car in the Walmart parking lot and nobody blinked. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Like, if it, you know, I think that familial obligation and respect is a two-way street. You can't just have, well, you know, we're your family, but we don't have to help you. And next time they say, well, you've got an obligation to do this. No, you don't. No. I brought up my mum and she immediately said that my own bad choices are why I ended up living in my car. I brought that up to my mum. Right. And this is something that you need to talk about when it happens. You can say, hey, I'm angry about this. My own bad choices are why I end up living in my car. Look, she had a relationship, have problems and wanted out of the relationship. I don't see that as her bad choices. Like, is she supposed to have a crystal ball and know exactly how a relationship is going to go? I don't know what the expectation for this poor, a grown woman. Okay, so she's obviously a woman. For this poor lady is concerned. This poor woman is concerned. Like, was she supposed to know that a perfectly reliable, sensible relationship is going to have problems in, you know, like what are we talking about here? I said it goes both ways. Absolutely does. Yes, I agree. She said I was being a petty brat. Okay. Yeah, I ended the call. Yeah, and this is the thing. You call someone a petty brat, you're acting immature. You are just trying to you know, threaten and manipulate them into doing something that they don't want to do. That is immature. I ended the call. My sister later called me about it and asked me what my problem was and why I'm still holding ancient grudges against the rest of them and how this trip was supposed to be a big reset for the family. Well, I mean, you don't need a big reset. You just have to, you know, treat people with respect. But if they're trying to manipulate you into going, how much of a reset is it? I do know that there are a few members of my family I probably won't see again if I don't go. This is the main reason I wonder if I'm just holding on to hurt or if it's justified for me to do this. Am I the arsehole for not going to the family reunion and picking my roommate instead? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that if you've made prior plans, they haven't told you and just booked reservations and stuff. I mean, holy crap. I don't think it's the end of the world. I think that, you know, a lot of these people, you can, you know, see them again after a while. I don't know. I don't think I've ever been to a family reunion. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think family reunions are my family's thing, to be honest with you. It was about 3 years ago, but having to sleep in your car because your family won't help you, that's really bad. Like, I get it was 3 years ago, but that isn't ancient, you know, like that isn't that long ago. 3 years ago. I mean, I was on YouTube 3 years ago. That isn't that long a time. It just isn't. I don't know. I don't think that that's that bad. Hold on, I'll get the poll going, but I think that they're entirely within their rights to say, hey, morally, what would be the best to do? That's an interesting question. That's a more interesting question. I think that, you know, I don't think you automatically owe things to your family. I think that re your family and you have a reciprocal array, a sort of relationship kind of thing. There's respect, love, and care given both ways. So the fact that they weren't prepared to help her with her living situation when she's homeless. Let's face it, she's homeless. It's really a problem. And if Penny, who she's living with, is more important to her life and treated her better, then I don't see why she wouldn't pick the relationship with the family that is just happens to be a friend. You know, like I don't. And plus, what really gets me is they're kind of manipulating her to go to something she didn't agree to. You know, it really makes me feel like, well, how much have they changed when they're sort of manipulating? Why is it doing that? Give me 1 second, sorry. No, it can't be that. Okay, so why is it hitting the V constantly? I think my keyboard might be playing up. Sorry, just give me 1 second. I've got infinite V's. Oh, it put it in the thing too. Okay, wow. All right. Well, I mean, wow. Okay, are you okay, keyboard? Are you all right? Are you okay? Sorry, keyboard malfunction. You know how it is. You know how that turns out when you're using a keyboard and have malfunction. Can you please select that? Okay. Wow. Things are going downhill. I think things are going really downhill. Hang on a sec. I'll put exclamation marks because I promised you Aunt Jer I would. Because Aunt Jer's in a mood. No one mess with Aunt Jer. They will take you to rights. All right, there's the poll. I want to know what you think. If you don't want to know, that's fine. A poll shouldn't be up there long if you don't want to participate. That's fine. I don't care. Let's see what the Redditors say. Hello, Redditors. Tell her a vacation at this time is financially poor decision. You have no inclination to make another bad decision. You may need help and cannot count on family. This trip is not something you budgeted for. It was sprung on you at the last minute without even asking it was feasible for you, and you have prior commitments. Boom. That is a very good explanation. That is a very good explanation. This is the best answer. Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever seen those like how to talk to your boss in a way that is like professional yet like absolutely give them the business kind of thing? Like I always love those. You know, I'm sorry, at this time it's not possible for me to take on extra workload without sufficient compensation kind of thing. I always like it because it's kind of, you know, corporate culture, you have that speak. I don't know if anyone's worked in corporate atmospheres before or corporate environments before, but it has this sort of, it has its own sort of linguistic parlance kind of thing. It really does. So I always love hearing those because it's like, yeah, that's exactly how you deal with somebody asking you to do something. Or, you know, hey, can we say that they've been, you know, they're attempting to Lumberg her? Does everyone know what lumberged means? Give me a sec. I'll see if I can find a definition that's good for it. Lumberged. I don't think that's Lumberg. That's a terrible definition. I suppose it'll do. There's a corporate jargon generator on the internet? No. So this is one definition. It's basically anyone in a useless bob whose boss makes them feel important, like coming in on the weekends or getting dumped in a bunch of courses. Yeah, it's kind of signing you up to do voluntary work or extra work without asking you, instead inferring that you're going to be doing it anyway. So I'm going to have to go ahead and get you to come in on Saturday. Okay, thanks. You know, like just sort of pressuring you into it by assuming you'll do it in the first place. And that's sort of what Lumberg is parlance of. Corporate. What was a corporate jargon generator? Corporate jargon generator. Is it just like random stuff? We need to leverage our synergies. That's basically, we need to work together. We need to leverage our synergies. Just to piggyback on the Q3 reports, run it up the flagpole. Resource allocation issues. Oh, I like that. There's some resource allocation issues. Basically, that just means I couldn't be fucked. I couldn't be fucked. Deep dive into the metrics. Bring to the table. Low-hanging fruit. Concepts of a plan. That's something that Trump used. Oh, my Lord. Oh, my. That's something Trump used. I have the concepts of a plan. Boots on the ground. It is what it is. Lots of moving parts. Value-added proposition. Oh, yeah, I've heard that before. We're moving the needle. Okay. Yeah, I've heard some of those before. Where was I? Yeah. The Redditors, that's right. This was supposed to be a big reset for the family. They sure went about in a strange way. Yeah, that's what how much of a big reset could it be if they're like manipulating you into it? Cultivate value-added web readiness. Nice. If there are any older family members that you miss, just unfortunately our mother and sister showed you why you shouldn't feel bad in any way for not wanting to go to this circus. That's a good point. Like their actual behavior is kind of why this is going to be an absolute clusterfuck. Like seriously, that is a true statement. If people are pressuring you into meeting up rather than adding you, just sort of saying, hey, can you please do it, like for this reason, or trying to convince you, right? Because convincing someone's fine. It's different than manipulation where someone is using your emotion against you. If you say, hey, it is important to me and I would really appreciate it. And somebody says, well, no, I don't really. That's fine. Get you. You're allowed to say how you feel about them going or not going to something. What's manipulative is saying something like, hey, you're never going to see these people, and I've already booked you something. And so if you don't go, that kind of manipulation is really bad. You're allowed to express how you feel about someone attending or not attending something. I get that. But that is manipulation. There's a big difference between the two, where you are saying, hey, this is how I feel. And you are, I would like you to go. And if you don't go, then all this bad stuff will happen and it's your fault. There's a massive difference between those two things. Okay. So yeah, it's going to be a crap show. Like seriously, it will be, because if that's how they're getting you to go to it, imagine what they're going to do once you're there. Oof, oof. If there are any older family members that you miss, just drop them a card and say you're thinking of them with love and hope, and see them soon. Loving, simple, and not involving them in any drama. Hell, it's the 21st century, son. Just get a frigging FaceTime up, or a face call on the internet. Like seriously, get somebody to help them set it up. It's not that hard. It's not impossible. It's we can contact people and see them without actually traveling at all. Amazing, the internet. Then go have fun with your friend. I did the same thing with a friend. 1 year, East Coast craft fairs all summer, selling her jewelry. It was so much fun. Have a blast. Just remember, your friends are the family you choose. Big hug. Okay, I just love that entire thing. Recliner babe, love it. Absolutely. I've helped her with a few in the past, and they are so much fun. You meet so many interesting people and artisans and make so many connections. I'm really excited to do it. You know what? I really love Sunday fairs and things like that. We used to have really good ones around us. There's a suburb near us. They used to have these Sunday markets. They were just called the markets, right? Like the markets, and they were just sort of fairs where you could buy crap, and they would have different stalls, and international food and stuff was so good. You would go there, but they kind of one of them had been torn down for high rise kind of stuff, and it kind of always bugs me. I really do like fairs and markets and things like that, like just random stuff, even if you're not even getting or buying anything, just looking through and just wandering around is fantastic. I highly recommend. I really do. Highly recommend. Mysterious Region says, I'm sorry. I know it's not the point of the post, but I can't help it. Who in their right mind goes to Florida in August on purpose? I don't know what that means. Is it a bad thing? What's August? Is that like hurricane season or something? I don't know. Tornado season. I don't know what goes on in Florida in August. Let's see. August for us is sort of getting on spring. So it's summer. So it's kind of going to fall kind of thing, I guess. Oh, summer. It's hot. Okay. Maybe they like the heat. Maybe they're from cold places or something. I don't know. I chuckled. This isn't even the first time they've gone purposely to Florida in August. They did it twice when I was in college too. Okay. Right in the hurricane season. Okay. Right in the hurricane. If my family were okay with me sleeping in a car to get out of an unhealthy relationship, then I'd never speak to them again, mother and sister included. I don't know if I'd go that far, but yeah, I would certainly be upset. For my children, they know that when they're older, they can always come home for any reason, and that friends can always find a home here too. That's what your family is, not whatever fake pony show fuckery your relatives are on about, not the arsehole. Nice. I agree. Boy, I wish I had you and family instead of this mess. That has to be so nice and secure to know you can really rely on your family, even as adults. Yeah, absolutely. I know when my parents were alive, it was like, well, if you need anything, come and see us, because that's what family does. I don't, it's so wild to me that people are like, yeah, I had this problem and my family just said, you're on your own, get out of it yourself. Wow, that's not family. That's not family at all. I don't know. It's wild to me. It really is. And maybe I just like, but that's not normal. That's not usually what happened, kind of thing. Like when your child has had a bad relationship and everything's come crumbling down. They were obviously living together, so it was at least a de facto marriage. Perhaps I guess they'd have to be living together for a while. You know, that's rough. That is so rough. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it. Let's have a look. What have you guys got to say? I think I did the gaming stuff. Yeah. No, you guys know I'm a huge gamer, but I don't expect anybody else to find it interesting. I don't expect anyone else. That's just something that I'm about, you know, and that's cool. That's fine. Even, you know, my wife, she isn't a big gamer. She really isn't. She doesn't really get into games at all. And that's okay. There's other interests we share. You don't have to have everything the same in order to be with somebody. You just need enough that is, you know, compatible. You can spend time together doing something you both like. You don't have to be identical, and that's okay. That's all right. I visited San Diego once and it stormed the entire time. Okay. Yep. Jessica says, so many conflicts seem to be caused by a lack of direct communication. You don't directly express your wishes, just believe that the information will be telepathically transmitted. Yeah, and that's definitely a problem with a lot of these, Jessica. I totally agree. And sort of this idea about communication, and it seems so obvious to you, how could it not be obvious to them? And I totally agree. But communicating in such a way that is sort of doesn't escalate the situation is very important, because certain things that seems obvious to you and you can communicate will absolutely offend somebody else. So yeah, it is that communication. And I think that sort of, you know, mediators and third parties, especially in marriages and stuff where you're fighting and it seems so obvious to both of you where your position is, they're really necessary, because they can sort of say, hey, this is what they feel, this is what the other person feels, and have, you know, they're proficient in actually getting that information across in a neutral way. Because when you communicate something, usually a lot relies on it, so there's a lot of emotion involved. Somebody who is a neutral mediator, especially in something like a marriage, can say, hey, this is how they feel, and they don't have any emotion connected to it. There's nothing hinging on it, you know. So I really do think that some people do need that, especially in marriages or relationships. But, you know, it is what it is. Relationships end. There's not always fault. It's just life. Yeah, sometimes relationships, absolutely, Jess. Sometimes relationships end and it's nobody's fault. It's just, you know, you thought you were compatible and you seemed compatible and everything told you were compatible, and then you're not. It's nobody's fault. It is what it is. You know, and I think that with any split in a relationship, it's not only one side. I guess sometimes it is just one-sided kind of thing, but rarely that's the case in a normal breakup. Usually it's just, you know, somebody's messier than one person, they can't deal with it. You know, that's nobody's fault as such. It's just, you know, an incompatibility between two people. It might be mostly one person's fault, but I don't usually, you know, if somebody's like a violent person or something, then yeah, no, it is one person's fault. But usually it is sort of, you know, not just one person. Is yesterday ancient? No. And I don't think 3 years ago is ancient either. I think that something that really, really hurts, you know, like, I mean, some of us have trauma from our childhood still hanging around. That's the thing. Like, you can't just go, well, it's ancient history, forget about it. If it does wound you emotionally and that's never dealt with, that will stay with you for a long, long time. And this is obviously, she was really hurt, and I don't blame her by her family not supporting. They weren't there for her when she desperately needed them, and that hurts. And obviously that has never been addressed. It's never been, that wound has never been healed. So it's not ancient history, no. And if it's never been healed, then, you know, and maybe partially that's her fault for not bringing it up. I get that, but you know, if it's never been healed, it's never been healed. It's still going to hurt to press on it. Andrew says you have no obligation, especially if they're not treating you like family. I totally agree. Yeah, absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Aunt Jess says if there's people that might die that she cares about, she can visit them individually apart from the reunion. Yeah, or she can just, you know, get them on the internet and see them there. I know it's not as easy and as good as being in person, but hey, it it's enough. Tilting Windmill says, love the family that treats you like family. Yeah, and I don't think they're treating her like family. Left-handed Jedi's family is a 4-letter word. I don't know about that one, Jedi. Arja says, honestly, a craft fair sounds more fulfilling than this family. It really does. Like, seriously. I think that in some places my biological family has been, and a craft fair, I tell you, I would be leaning towards the craft fair. I got to admit, I really would be. I really would be. So Jessica says that so they never apologized for what they did, and they never performed any action to cause reparation. Why would the grudge decrease over time? I don't see the reasoning here. Yeah, sure. And she might not have brought it up and just let that sort of fester and sort of, build up that resentment within her. So, it might not be entirely their fault if they didn't know she felt upset about it. But at the same time, obviously they should care if she says, hey, I'm upset about this thing and I'm not going to the family reunion because you treated me really badly. I just because of going, oh, it's ancient history. Well, not for her. I don't, you might have glossed over it, but you weren't the family might have glossed over it and said, oh, well, it's ancient history now. They weren't the ones sleeping in a car and being homeless. So, understanding where people are coming from is really important. It's okay, Mark. It happens to every guy. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Yeah, I think that was a dig at me having keyboard problems. Yes, look, keyboard malfunctions. 3 out of 10 men. It's my second time seeing the ocean. Really? Ireland was the first. Look, I've grown up by the ocean all my life. Like, that's wild to me. Second time seeing the ocean. I think my second time seeing the ocean was like, while I was still a baby. I wouldn't have remembered the second time I've seen the ocean. I wouldn't have. Like, yeah. I was a baby when second time I saw the ocean. That's wild to me. If you could go ahead and do that, that'd be great. Okay, thanks. Being voluntold. I love that. Yes, being voluntold. Yes. Yep. Yep. As a kid, Midwest kid, I seen a lot of forest, mountains, and lakes, but rarely the ocean. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's just wild to me. I've grown up like literally. It would probably be 5 minutes walk from the beach kind of thing. That's where I grew up. So, I did surf lifesaving throughout my youth. I swim like nearly every single day. To me, the ocean has always been something I've been to always. Wow. And that's sort of a very Australian thing. Like if the Australian in chat will tell you, the beach is massive to Australians. Somebody once tried to put paid parking at the beach in my state, and people were almost rioting in the streets. Like, I'm not even joking. The beach belongs to no one here. No one. It is absolutely a shared resource. You absolutely are never going to be charged for going there. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. Working with Bell Telephone, the wrong way, the right way, the wrong way, and the Bell way. Okay, that's weird. That's a weird thing to say. The Ozarks are amazing for road trips. Look, I don't know what that is. All I know is the show, and it seems to be like woods and lakes, I think. Summer and hot. Yeah. August is the hottest month of the year. Gotcha. And Florida is humid. Yep, gotcha. Jessica says, this toxic mindset where you don't assume all relationships are mutual and reciprocal. When you want your child to do something for you, you just assume they will drop everything for you. Yeah, and it absolutely is toxic. Absolutely. I think there's a propensity for people to think, well, if I birth somebody, they do what I say. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think that respect for you to do what you ask of them, especially when they're an adult, is a reciprocal thing. And I think that a lot of people are in the mindset. And, I hate to say it, but religion exacerbates that. Just the whole thing of honor your mother and thy father kind of thing. Well, no, I think that's wrong. I think that's bad advice. If your mother and father are not doing the things that are honorable, then you shouldn't honor them. So I think that is a problem with the Christian religion, that it's sort of like, if someone's your parents, then you should do whatever they say. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You should evaluate whether you do what they say in the frame of, have they taken care of you, and is what they're saying likely to be in your best interests. Andrew says, yep, family can suck. Yeah, basically. Yeah, but then when your child helps you emphasize independence, leaving the nest, cutting the cord. Yeah. And that's the sort of asymmetry that you see in these things. Whenever your child is in trouble, they're they have to stand on their own 2 feet. The responsibility is theirs, all of this kind of thing. And then when you need something from them, it's, well, you have to, blood is thicker than water. You have to be there for your family, all of this stuff. Yeah, no, I totally get you, Jessica. Don't get me wrong. It may be worth it to say, hey, you have to sort of, have the consequences of what you're doing. You have to, because children do need their own independence. They do need to leave the nest, all that kind of stuff. But there's a big difference between that and just cutting them off completely, just saying, hey, you're on your own if you're homeless. There's a big difference between that. And, if you can't take your own advice to say, hey, they're out having their own life and choosing their own responsibilities, then you're just a hypocrite. I totally agree with you. Greetings, Purple. Still hurts the feels. Yeah, no, I get you, Andrew. It does. It absolutely does. Purple says, family are the people you choose to share your life with. Relatives are just accidents of birth. That is true. That is true. Left-handed Jazz said, I haven't talked to my siblings or extended family in over a decade. Yeah, I must admit, my brother and I don't talk that much recently. Hello, Robin. Good to see you. Purple says, my second time seeing the ocean was the day after my first time seeing the ocean. I was 14. I wouldn't even talk about my second time seeing the ocean because I wouldn't remember it. The ocean has always been there in my life. I have lived beside the ocean all my damn life. Like, I don't think I've ever lived anywhere that's not like 5 minutes drive from the ocean. I couldn't tell you the first time I swum. I mean, my mother tells a story. Okay, so story time. Oh, hello, Tori. Good to see you. My mother tells a story, and this is sort of story time, or she used to tell a story about how we were babies and they had us in the ocean. They were just in the ocean because that's what parents did in the 70s, apparently. And a wave came and ripped my brother and me out of their arms. My dad grabbed my brother, but my mother couldn't grab me, and I was the younger of the two. And she came up screaming and looked like she didn't know where I was, and my dad just pointed, and apparently I was swimming at 6 months or so, which is apparently something babies will do. But yeah, I survived that, apparently. 6 months I was swimming. So I don't know. I don't know how true that was. I assume it was. But yes. As a baby, if you said my second time in seeing the ocean, it's so weird because I don't even remember probably the 50th time I've seen the ocean. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even, I was a baby when, you know, and been to the ocean hundreds of times, so I don't even remember a point without the ocean. You know, it's always been in my life. Yeah, I am Aquaman. I will. Yeah. Watch out, Jason Momoa. It's my time now. Apparently so. But I will say I am a damn good swimmer. I will say that. Okay, I can swim. I've swum a long distance before. I used to be in surf lifesaving. I can swim. All right. Don't ever doubt that. What's wild to me, and the other thing wild about Australia is everybody can swim. Everybody gets swimming lessons. Like somebody saying, "Do you swim in Australia?" is weird. It's weird. Like somebody comes up to you, "Do you swim?" Well, of course I swim. It would be like going to somebody and saying, "Do you read?" You know, like it just isn't a question over here. It's so weird. Like it's just, you know, everybody swims. Everybody swims. Everybody. It's wild. I like that one. I did like that one. And how did the poll go? How's my poll? Someone tell me what's my poll has come out like. This is what I gotta know. I gotta know how my poll is looking. All right. Poster is completely right. Everyone's terrible is one of the answers. Okay, well that's fine. That's fine. You've lived on the Great Lakes. You've only seen the ocean a few times. Wild. Wild. Oh, thank you, Archer. Very nice poll. Yeah, it came out how I expected as well. So yeah, that's an ad. Next one up, Afraid Mammoth. Ah, poor Mammoth. Am I the asshole for laughing at my stepson and ruining his wedding? Well, maybe. Was it done out of cruelty? Because, I mean, yeah, I mean, yeah, okay. The deep end of the swimming pool. Yeah, I mean, I've had that kind of happen. My dad used to throw us in certain things, but you know, like we would just like because we'd been swimming all of our lives, we were totally fine. Like it was really funny because I got to school, right? And we have, I don't know if you have it here, but we have swimming certificates, right? So you have the junior, intermediate, and senior swimming certificates. They're like they're kind of like the certificates. I don't know if they still have them. I mean, this was back when I was a kid, but they had these swimming, and they sort of just were a rough guide to how good that you were, kind of thing. And when I got to school, I didn't have any of them, kind of thing. I had just swum all my life, and they like asked me what swimming certificate I had, and I'm like, I do remember that my mum got like they had somebody who came in and taught us how to swim. My dad taught us how to swim. My mum taught us how to swim. Like I got breaststroke off my mum. I got freestyle off my dad. But somebody taught us backstroke and things like that, like the actual other ones. So there's essentially what I know is freestyle, breaststroke, backstroke, survival, breaststroke, survival, backstroke, survival, side stroke, butterfly. I think that's about it. I think that's the strokes that I know. Do I know any others? No, that's about it. So I know all of those. Okay. And I mean, there's only slight differences between, say, breaststroke and survival breaststroke. There's only like very, very small differences. But yeah, that's basically it. As well as, you have to learn treading water kind of thing. Use the egg beater style is the one that I use most often. Sculling is also important if you know what that is. If you don't, that's fine. Anyway. Yeah, she did some competitive stuff in like high school and into sort of, young. So my mum did some swimming competitively. She wasn't a professional swimmer or anything. She just like did amateur competitions kind of thing. And she was actually a very good trampolinist. She did trampolining, and I think she was close to going to the limits. She did professional trampolining at one point, which was wild. And my father was he was in surf club. He did do rowing mostly though, like boats kind of thing, but he still was a swimmer because you had to be in surf club. Anyway, I get to high school and they're like, "What certificate do you have?" And I'm like, "I don't have a certificate." And they're like, but I'm like, "But I can swim." And they're like, "Oh, okay, well, you can probably, swim a bit." And I'm like, "No, I can swim." And they're like, "But you don't have any certificates." So they put me in junior. The first day I start swimming, they're like, "Okay, put him in senior." So just like, we can't keep this person in junior. What's the first rule of surf club? First rule of surf club. Damn, that's a good point. It's probably make sure you get the sand out of your Speedos. Like, seriously. Look, your Speedos, make sure you get the sand out of there. There's nothing worse. Let me tell you, that's the first rule of surf club. That's the first rule of surf club. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Anyway, am I the arsehole for laughing at my stepdad? Look, tangents in the chat. Tangents in the frigging chat. All right. I know that's the only reason you're here. I know it is. All right. Just tangents all round. But yeah, it's just, there's people in Australia that have never taken an official lesson and can still swim like frigging otters. It's ridiculous. And the rest get swimming lessons. So, because Australia used to have a huge problem with drowning. Funnily enough. Okay, Mammoth, what you got for us? I think that it depends on what you have done, basically. I suppose. For context, I've been married to my husband for just over 20 years. I feel this is going to be like, oh, someone cracked a joke during my wedding and ruined it. Like your entire wedding is ruined by a little joke. Like, come on now. We started dating when my stepkids were 5 and 3. Okay, our kids are Adam, 28, Ben, 26, Charles, 20, David, 17, and Ellie, 13. Okay, so you've got 2 stepkids, and they were 8 when you met up and 6 when you met up. And that's fine. That's fine. Adam is getting married at the end of summer to his fiancée, Alice, who's 27. We have been very excited for them. All the kids have roles for the wedding. Charles is the best man. Oh, that's nice. The other 2 boys are groomsmen, and Ellie is a junior bridesmaid. Do you have junior? Isn't it just a bridesmaid? A junior bridesmaid at 13. Okay. Last weekend, we had a dinner at my husband's birthday. All the kids attended along with Alice. The topic of the wedding came up again, and this is where it started to go downhill. Okay. Why is it always weddings on here? You swam 5 kilometers on your 10th birthday? What stroke did you use, Hill Hugger? Was it breaststroke? Was it freestyle? Was it I don't know. I'm a big fan of survival side stroke, just with the insane distances you can swim. Like, insane. The topic of the wedding came up again. This is where it started to go downhill. Elliot brought up she was so excited to go dress shopping and that we'd planned to go to a bigger city in a few weeks. Freestyle, nice. A few weeks to get her a dress and me a stepmom of the groom dress. Okay, what's wrong with that? At that, Alice looked at Adam sideways and responded that we only needed to worry about one dress, Ellie's. Wait, who's Alice? Fiance Alice. Okay. Ellie she was so excited to go dress shopping that we planned to go to a bigger city in a few weeks to get her a dress and me a stepmom of the groom dress. Okay, so Ellie is assuming that she's in the bridesmaids party? I wouldn't... junior bridesmaids to make older people. That makes sense. That makes sense. So she's a junior bridesmaid because she isn't going to the hen's night, which is probably a fair call for a 13-year-old not to go to a hen's night, but she's still not a flower girl. Gotcha. No, that's fair. That's fair. That's good. No, I get that. That's actually interesting, Archie. I think that's a really good idea. I think that's a very good idea because, flower girl, you don't want to call a 13-year-old a flower girl. Or a 14-year-old or, even a 16-year-old a flower. I mean, come on, that would suck. I get you. So that's a good thing. I like that. I do like that. Ellie kind of laughed and said, "What were you expecting Mum to wear? A suit?" Alice responded with, "My name isn't going. We are keeping our guest list very limited to only family and a few close friends." What? Your husband's wife is not invited to your marriage. Okay, that is gross. Oh, that's just fucked. I'm sorry, but wow. Hold it. So she has basically been his stepmother since he was 8. Like, even if he moved out at, say, 18, okay? Just say he moved out at 18. That's 10 years of being his stepmom. Oh, that is horrific. That is just absolutely horrific. The stepmom isn't going. We're keeping our guest list very limited to only family. What? And a few close friends. What? Adam and Alice have been to our house numerous times for holidays, dinners, just to say hi since they've been engaged. This has never been brought up. Pretty quickly, things escalated. The Cliff Notes version is that Charles, who is Charles? The partner? Charles is the best man. Okay, so Charles is her biological son instead of her stepson. Okay, so his half-brother. Charles asked them to clarify if they were choosing to uninvite me now or if I was never invited. Alice confirmed the latter. Why? Adam said because I'm not his mum. Oh, that is poor form. Sir, what are you doing? Charles, David, and Ellie argued with Adam and Alice that Adam and Alice. Oh, that's the fiance. Wow, that would hurt, Ryan. That would hurt. Like, that's Charles, David, and Ellie argued with Adam and Alice that none of them were going to go if I wasn't invited. Oh, yeah, okay. So I can understand that. You know what? If I was somebody's son and my half brother said, "Yeah, you're not invited," even though, look, seriously, even if you don't think they're your mother, right? Like, I get that. You can't say, "Hey, I'm your mother." It's still your father's partner, your father's wife. It's still his plus one. Are you going to say no one's allowed to bring plus ones? Like, none of your friends are allowed to bring their husband? Like, what are you talking about? This is ridiculous. This is a snub and a half. Wow, what the hell? Charles, David, and Ellie argued with Adam and Alice that none of them were going to go if I wasn't invited. That was cruel to leave me out, given I've been a parent for a majority of his life. That's true, and loved him like my own. My husband and I admittedly sat there for a minute, just fucking shocked. Yeah, I can imagine. That would hurt. That would hurt a lot. Like, I would understand if you said, hey, you did this thing and we don't feel comfortable with you there. But just, oh, that's not my mum. It is your father's wife, though. Like, why would you be so cruel? Adam finally turned to my husband and said, well, my husband told him he wouldn't be going either. Adam then turned to me and asked if I was really going to let everyone ruin his wedding on my behalf. What the hell? What do you mean, let them? Here's where I might be the asshole. I just laughed. I don't know. Look, some things are just so bad you got to laugh. I totally get it. I've done that before as well. There's been something absolutely horrible and I've just had to laugh. Like, I get it. Sometimes that's the only way you can. Look, it's not so much that you're trying to be mean. It's just that is absurd, right? It's absurd that she's the one doing this, because they won't go if their mother is not invited to the father won't go if his wife has not been invited to the wedding. Like, that's absurd to say that that's her fault. Like, what? Wow. I don't know what came over me, but the entire thing was so ridiculous that laughing was the only thing I could get out. Yeah, I totally get it. I 100% get it. 100%. I'm right on board. Yeah, some things are just so absurd. You have to laugh. You have to. I told my husband I'd be waiting in the car and left, and then promptly bawled my eyes out. Yeah, absolutely. That poor lady. Anyway, Charles, Dave, and Ellie are not talking to Adam. Adam called my husband yesterday to try and smooth things over. He was still adamant that I'm not invited and it's their wedding. He also requested I apologize for laughing at him. No. My husband told him tough shit. It's their wedding and they can invite whoever they want, but they can't control who will actually go. Bam. Wow, I like this husband. Who was it? What was the husband's name? I don't know the husband's name, but what a guy. Yeah, absolutely. It's their wedding and they can invite whoever they want, but they can't control who will actually go. If you do this, some people may decide that they don't want to be there if you are being so horrible to somebody else. That is fair. That's absolutely fair. He said they owe me an apology and that Adam should be ashamed of himself. Absolutely. I would be saying that as well. If that was my son, I'd be saying, hey, that is horrible to do. And I would say, look, son, is there some other reason than, that you don't want them there? I'm getting texts now asking what the fuck I did and why I'm being a step monster and ruining the wedding. Am I the asshole? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Wow. I don't have a response that adequately tells you. Like, she didn't guilt them. She didn't make anybody stand up for her, right? She didn't sort of say, hey, if you're going, I'm going to be upset to anybody. She just was upset about not being invited and cried about it and was upset about it. That's not, if my brother basically said, well, I'm having a wedding, but your wife isn't invited, no way I would be going. No way. There is absolutely no way I'd be going. I'd be saying exactly the same thing. Like, you get us as a partnership or not at all. Like, that's my wife. That's 100% my wife. And not to mention it's the same person that has raised him since he was 8. Or at least helped raise him since he was 8. I don't know why they're dying on this hill. Is there something else at play here? Like, did she do something to them? Did she say something to them that they took the wrong way? I don't understand. all I can think of is if someone is that rude and adamant that they shouldn't be at your wedding, did they do something to offend you, right? Like, that's the only way I could tell. But I would get it if they, just say you had a career and they completely disrespected you in front of their boss, or they were manipulative in some way, kind of thing. Like, I would understand, but it seems like the only reason is, well, she's not important to us. Okay, but she's important to your father, and she's important to your half brothers and half sister. She's important to people in the family, and she is part of the family. Like, this suggests she's not part of the family. I'm sorry, she is. And you might not want to invite her because of some things she does. Okay, it's time to discuss that. It's time to communicate what it is. Wow, I don't. This is so wild. Why? Was the mother wrong? I don't even know what she's done here to say, was she wrong by doing this? I guess we can say, did the mother ruin the wedding? There's only one person ruining the wedding here, or two people, and that's the bride and groom, quite frankly. In my opinion, they're the ones ruining their own wedding because they are being horrible to a family member. And maybe you don't see it as your family member, but it's your father's family member, and your father is part of your family. So I don't know. I don't. Like, maybe there's some latent resentment there for her taking your mother's place. But at the end of the day, unless you can actually articulate that and work it out, I don't. Wow. Okay. That is just so wild. Fancy and Fab, as a Redditor, says, I feel like there's a lot missing here. Yeah, you've been married to his dad since he was 8. That was years of elementary, middle, high school, college, 20 years. Is his mother living? Did his fiance influence him? Just seems odd not to invite his dad's wife of 20 years and call her not family. I don't think you're the asshole, but I want to know more about the past 20 years. Yeah, okay. All right, so we've got some more information coming here now. I'm sorry, I had to cut a lot for the character count to post. When Adam called my husband, did ask him if I'd done anything, if it was related to bio mum. She has never gotten along with us. If I had overstepped in any way. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Adam says no, it's just they want family only. And friends. They said friends as well, like close friends. And a few close friends. Yeah, so it's not just family only. Wow. Wow. Stepdad is invited as far as we know. Stepdad is invited. Okay, so let me get this straight. So the stepdad gets to invite his new wife or whoever he's with, but the actual biological father is not allowed to invite the stepmother. Okay. No, so the mother gets to invite her next partner, but the guy isn't allowed to invite his partner. Wow, what the hell? I was stay-at-home mother for most of my stepkids' childhood, and we had 50-50. My husband always worked a lot, but has been involved as possible with the house and child rearing. Mostly fell to me, though. I love our kids to pieces. I thought we had made it clear from the beginning that I was another parent that loves them, not a replacement mum. We've never had any issues, and I thought up until now we were particularly close. Our communication has slowed since he met Alice, but he was calling me about once or twice a week prior to this. Alice and I have gone shopping on occasion, gotten lunch. I even went with her to the florist for the wedding because her mum wasn't available. Holy crap. And Adam got called into work. There has to be someone causing an issue, and my husband and I are baffled. Wow. Wow. Not the arsehole. Yeah, absolutely. Major props to hubby, kids, and the fam for being on your side. Yeah, I don't. Wow, that's horrible. Like, what is it? Like, maybe the stepmother is saying, or the mother, the biological mother is saying, "Hey, I don't want her there, or else I'm not coming." I don't know. It's so weird. It's so weird. I don't get this. Wow, I'm getting texts now. What the fuck I did and why I'm being a step monster and ruining the wedding. You should answer those texts with, they announced I was never invited to the wedding and other people said they wouldn't attend if I wasn't invited. I said nothing and did nothing while that was going on. I can't ruin something if I'm not part of it. You need to talk to Adam and Alice. Right, ruining their wedding. They picked this hill to die on, not you. You're absolutely not the asshole, and kudos for your husband backing you up. Yeah, I kind of agree, but I'm not sure that would be a good response. It's just how are you supposed to convince them if they're absolutely adamant that you're ruining their wedding by other people deciding that you need to be invited and aren't going if you're not? Like, just saying, hey, I have no control over what they do. They've chosen. I have not influenced them in any way. I guess so. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Uh, Counselor here. Do not apologize for laughing. Your sudden birth of laughter was actually the seeping of hysteria laughter. Totally appropriate. Yeah, hysteria. Gotcha. Oh, hey, Ambush Postate. Good to see you. It's what can happen when we are traumatized. Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Look, I've been in that situation that somebody's said something that's cruel or absurd, and you can only just laugh. Like, that's all you can do, because if you didn't laugh, you would just, some things just do that. My dad's blast breaths after hours of vigils is one of the greatest last night. The aunt called and asked if he could wait till she got there because she wanted to play bridge. She called again from the senior citizen center saying bridge was on Wednesday. It was Thursday. Silence. I said, Dad, you're going to have to wait till next Wednesday before or after bridge. My mum shot a stare at me. My sister said, yeah, if you're taking requests, I have to check my schedule. The room full of mourners all laughed so hard. He died a few minutes later. I envy him dying to laughter. Oh, that is beautiful. Wow. Wow. We can only hope that the end of our life is filled with laughter and loved ones. Can you imagine that? That would be wonderful. Like, the best, not wonderful, obviously. It's horrible, and it's such a loss, but at the same time, if we have to go, I think the best way is to go laughing. Like, seriously. I your father, he lets go of all the fear, all of the horrible stuff, and enjoys the last moments on earth. I think that's all we can really hope for. What an amazing story. Adam is the asshole here. Yeah, I love that your husband, children, and younger stepson are supporting you, and you recognize Adam for the asshole he is. I'm guessing you're a wonderful wife, mother, stepmother. And laughing was a lot better than saying what Adam deserved to hear, but probably heard better when it came from his father and siblings. You're not wrecking the wedding. Adam is. Yes, this. I'm sorry that happened to you. It's very sad. If Adam had given the reason of the order of you beat me, tormented me emotionally throughout my childhood, and made fun of my teenage acne, now I'm in therapy and I realize, well, I love my family. I need to curtail my relationship with you. Yes, this. Totally understand that. That would be 100% understood. I'd have a different response, but that's not the situation here. There's a man you helped raise since he was very small and his father's wife, and he doesn't care how much he hurts you to make the point that you're not his biological mother. Yeah, absolutely. Oof, that hurts. That would hurt. Ouch. I really feel for this person. Like, really, that would hurt. Yeah, no, I think I'm going down with, definitely nothing. They've done nothing wrong at all. Nothing wrong. Let's see what you wonderful people have to say there. Um, The bridesmaids. Jessica says, you hear something so ridiculous that your brain has to reboot. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's kind of like, I'm sorry. You couldn't have said that because that would be so absurd, it would break reality. So there's no possible way you could have said something that obtusely, ridiculously stupid. There's no possible way. I have felt like that in the past. And I totally agree with you, Jessica. Like that would be I'm sorry, my hearing must not be working because there's no possible way you could have said something like that. Wow. Left-handed Jedi says, if there's no rift at that time, not inviting is rude as fuck. If my partner wife wasn't invited, I would no go. I'm right there with you, mate. I am 100% there with you. If somebody said, hey, come to my wedding, you're not allowed to invite Lynn, I'm like, well, then I'm not going. Why would I go without my partner in crime and life and the love of my life? Like, you can forget it. Unless you have a reason, like, she's not family. She's my family. She's my family. She doesn't have to be yours. She's mine. Don't you frigging dare. Like, we are a partnership. She is my significant other. If you're saying no plus ones, well, there's no one to begin with. That's fine. Jesus. Wow. Jessica says, you take it for granted that people will do something for you, so they're not doing it is hurting you. Toxic mindset. Absolutely. 100% agree. This sense of entitlement is to people's time. This sense of entitlement to people's time. Yeah, but I think it's this sense of entitlement to people seeing the world exactly as you see it. You know, like, because the stepmom isn't that important to you, it must not be important to your dad either. No, that's not how people see the world. Like, you have to understand that, hey, that person isn't important to you, but it's really important to somebody else. To me, it's sort of, and that's, obviously that's where the toxic mindset comes in, Jessica. It's a lack of empathy, of understanding how not only your dad feels, but your stepmom feels. How's she going to feel in this situation? It really worries me that religions are starting to go, well, empathy is this horrible thing that we want to stamp out. It's like, how? What? Like, empathy is everything. It's the only way we can function socially, because if we don't understand how people feel, if we can't understand how people feel, then we won't be able to communicate with them in an adequate way. I completely agree with you. It is a toxic mindset. Tilting Windmill says, this scenario is nutsy as fuck. Yeah, absolutely. And goes on to say, because she's not blood to Adam. Yeah, but neither is your close friends, and I think the main thing that stands out to me is what the father said, and he's absolutely right. You can invite anyone you want to, but based upon that, some people won't come. They can choose not to come because their partner isn't invited, or, somebody isn't invited that they want to be there. You don't have control over that. Aunt Jess says, maybe someone else is pressuring the couple not to invite the stepmother, maybe like the groom's biological mother. Yeah, and that's what I think, Aunt Jess. That's what I think. That, they don't get along. I think for the sake of a wedding, the mature thing to do would just be civil to them. You don't have to talk to them. You don't really have to engage with them in any way. You've got to just be in the same room for a few hours. It's perfectly, any mature adult can do that. They may not like them, but, and it's harsh because with a lot of situations like this, it is the person that makes the most noise that kind of gets their way. If the mother is saying, and I'm not saying this is the case, I'm just saying, if the mother's saying, like, well, if you're not going to invite us, I'm not coming, and I'm going to do all of this stuff, and I'm not going to help you out financially, and just all of this stuff, they usually are the ones to get their way, while it is the stepmother who says, well, what am I going to do? That doesn't, and that sucks. And I like that the family is standing up for her, and so she doesn't have to, you know, be manipulative or try to manipulate the situation. I like that they've said, hey, there's a line there that you've crossed. I do like that. Tilting Mill agrees, says, yeah, that's likely. Yeah. Jessica says, the thing is, if the invite list included family plus some friends, and you considered your step parents not family but only as friends, they should still get invited. Yeah, I agree. And I would imagine they would be close friends after, you know, being somebody to raise you, make you lunches, you know, absolutely, you know, sort of take care of you for 10 plus years. Like, I can't imagine what your definition of close is if that's not close. You know, the person that helped raise you. Purple says you can come, but you can't bring your partner. Sounds pretty shitty. Yeah, I'm struggling to think of a event kind of thing that I would say something like that. You can come, but you can't bring your wife or significant other or your partner in some. I'm struggling to think of an event. Yeah, maybe a stag party or something. You know, maybe that would be something. Hey, you know, you can come, but you can't bring your wife, because that would absolutely suck. That's the only thing I can think of that I would say something like that to. The only thing, you know, I can't think of anything else. Jessica says, if there was no case of bad blood, then we can't classify this as bitter memories holding on to grudges, settling an old score. Right, exactly. Yep, exactly. Anja said, he literally died laughing. What a guy. Yeah, what a guy, right? Man, I feel kind of envious, you know, like that's awesome. That's awesome. You know, it's kind of like the guy that, you know, has a heart attack while having sex kind of thing. Like, if you have to go, come on. Jessica says, there are some situations, there are some people where silence will be interpreted as compliance. Right. That's a good point. Sometimes you're powerless. All you can do is some action that signifies how disgusted you are. Yeah, that's true. But silence doesn't necessarily mean compliance. And I get what you're saying, but I think that's just wishful thinking kind of thing. No, this definitely isn't Hoven ambushed apostate. This is AIMBOT. It's basically going on to Am I the Arsehole on Reddit and trying to get some morality out of everyday situations that people have put up. That's basically it. I go with secular humanism, so I look for well-being. Other people have other, you know, ways that they evaluate certain situations. We really just, you know, see if we can get morality out of these situations. It's something I started to do. Oh God, it would have been years ago, and I ended it because Reddit had a policy on they're using their data kind of thing, and it was a big thing in the community. But I started it up. Oh, what would it be, gang? Like about 6 months ago or so, I restarted it up, and yeah, it through popular demand because people were asking me to bring it back. So it's back, baby. It's back, and more aimbotty than ever. No, it's probably about the same. Tilting Windmill, so especially if the mum's husband is apparently invited, it's just crazy. Yeah, and that's sort of that hypocrisy that, I mean, everybody's a hypocrite usually at some point, you know, like it's very hard not to be a hypocrite with anything. But, you know, that's a level where it's like, well, it's obvious that you have some issue, either yours or somebody else's issue with that person in particular. It's not due to them being your stepmom or them being you know, extended family or them being what they are. It's them, you know, that's where you're like, they say, well, it's nothing personal, when like, well, it feels personal. It certainly does feel personal. If somebody else holds the same comparative position as them and they're being invited and you're not, it has to be something personal, right? So yeah. You can't do crime with Lynn. You have to be gay to do crime. Is that the new rule? I don't know. Yes, exceptionally average. The poster did say that, I believe, in their sort of update kind of thing. she has never gotten along with us. So yes, they didn't get along with the biological mother. So that is an issue maybe. And that's why we're sort of saying, hey, it may be the biological mother saying, hey, we're not going to help or go to your wedding kind of thing. You know, yeah, they did say that. I mean, it could be a case of the biological mother saying, don't tell your stepmom this, but we can't be in the same room. We're going to fight. It's going to ruin the wedding kind of thing. I don't know. It's wild. Tilting Windmill says, I had to invite all my cousins to my wedding despite trying to keep the list under 200, mostly cousins, and I despise at least one of those cousins. Yeah, that's fair. I get you. And that's the thing. Like, I get there's sometimes where if your parents been abusive, if your parents had been manipulative, if your parent will ruin the wedding while they're there, I totally get it why you wouldn't invite them, you know. But if you just don't like somebody, but it may be the moral thing to do to put up with them for the, you know, couple of hours that you have to. You don't have to engage with them that much. You don't have to hang out with them. You can just, if you can be in the same room, it might be the right thing to do to have them there because they're important to other people. I totally understand if you can't have them in the room. And that's where we talk about boundaries, where those boundaries must lie. If it doesn't violate your boundaries, just having them in the same room, then that's okay. You know, that's not the end of the world. The point being, you really just cut people. You can't really just cut people off a waiting list without creating an issue. Doesn't matter that mum and stepmom don't get along. They ought to invite parents of the partners of the biological parents. And I would agree. I would agree. I would absolutely agree, Tilting. Yes. There may be cases where you ought not to. If they're gonna, you know, if you've got you know your biological mum's partner is gonna, you know, they're gonna get drunk and ruin the whole thing because they've done it multiple times, and you know, or they are, you know, profoundly racist or something, right? You know, like I get why you would say, hey, we can't have them there, but what you ought to be doing is communicating with the people involved to say, hey, this is the reason, and if we can overcome this reason, then they can come. But if they're going to do X, Y, and Z, then they can't, right? So this is where you have to communicate the reasons for it. And what I feel like is that the Charles and his fiance, what was it, Alice? Charles and Alice, they're not communicating the real reason. That it is something personal, but they're not saying what it is. That's what I feel like. And I could be wrong in that. I could be wrong. It might just be something else, but that's what it feels like to me. Jessica says, hypothetically, if this was a elopement situation, right, where they've run off, where the du jour wedding will only have maybe 5 witnesses, and then weeks later we'll have the huge wedding where everyone is invited. So de jure means at face value, doesn't it? Or by default, kind of. Is it de jure? I used to know what de jure meant. De jure means by right or according to law. Got you. Yes, the legal one. Right. So you're talking about the legal wedding is like at a courthouse or something, and they only have 5 witnesses. And then if a few weeks later, we'll have the huge wedding where everyone's invited. Yeah, gotcha. You're also a secular humanist to have to use the label. Yeah, fair call. No worries at all, mate. I like secular humanism. I think it's a very good. I'd hesitate to even call it a religion. I don't think it is. I think it's more a philosophy or a moral framework. As Socrates via Plato says, we are all hypocrites all of the time because we're generous, trusting, and patient with our friends while being thrifty, skeptical, and impatient. Yeah. And you know, I've got that thing of treating myself worse than I treat other people. I think I've got a lot more. You know, I keep saying people, you know, be kind to yourself, but a lot of the time I'm not. I think I say that because I know I should be kinder to myself. I ought to be kinder to myself because it is good for my own well-being. You know, I think that is why I keep saying it. It's also like, so when I say be kind to yourself and be kind to each other, it's also a reminder for myself because I do that a lot. I'm very harsh on myself a lot of the time. And I don't want to be. I think I would prefer to be kind to myself, so I do say it. OP might be a little bit of an asshole for not disclosing how bad her relationship with the other mum is. She lets on that she has done nothing, but why this treatment? Well, that's the thing. But Baron Marlowe, I don't think relationships are always symmetrical, right? When you say you know she's never gotten along with us, it might be that she's really got nothing against the other biological mother, but maybe that biological mother has something against her, right? So you know, I think that she's trying not to blame her, and it may be the case that she's got nothing against one person, but she's got something. We don't know. That's the problem. But in doing these, all we can really do is, I do realize, and we always have to keep in mind, there is two sides to every story. We do this with the knowledge that we don't have the entire picture, because in order to do so, you would have to get the stories of everybody involved. And we get that. But at the same time, we can only analyze them under the story of the person that's giving it to us. You know, and if her husband is saying, hey, has she done something wrong, then the bride and groom really should be saying what that is. If, you know, if she's done nothing, or if she's done something, then you would hope that the bride and groom would say, hey, she's done this to our mother and it's not acceptable, kind of thing. You would hope that you could have a dialogue about what it is and perhaps be able to work it out. Because a lot of these, and Jessica brought it up really well, a lot of these are just, people don't communicate. They don't say what they really think, and that causes all kinds of problems. Adam and Alice, they're an alliterative couple. Okay. They're double A. Also, the names were A, B, C, D, and E. Really? Did I miss that? Hold it. Adam, Ben, Charles, David, and Ellie. Okay, well, that's convenient. Wow. Okay. That's either convenient or this is made up. I don't think this is made up. This feels real to me, and I've been doing a few of these, so I would hope to be able to check. Definitely not, because it has nothing to do with worship. Right. And that's how I define religion too. Yes, that has an object of worship and tenets on how to behave. Voted ×2 for everyone is terrible. Okay. I don't know what the poster has done wrong, but, you know, put it in the chat if you think she's done something wrong. Presumably for privacy and to make it easier to keep track of the siblings' ages. Yeah, they could be false names as well. People will put up false names on here, so that could be the case as well. Yeah, people do that because they don't, you know, it's amazing what you can track down from a little information on the internet. So they just don't put up the real names. Yeah, I would say so. That is possible as well, for sure. Although it seems to me, if you do have a lot of kids, it would be incredibly convenient to order them like that. Maybe I'm a little autistic, maybe I'm a lot autistic, but it seems very convenient and, you know, way to thingo. Oh, no worries, Ambush. Take care, mate. Yeah, absolutely. I think I will do one more for you beautiful people. But that one, I don't know. I don't see what she's done wrong. I really don't. And you can disagree. That's okay. That's all right. That's part of it. You can disagree. But that one came out. Poster is completely right, and I completely agree. I just really feel for her. Like I would be really hurt. I would be really hurt. And I suppose that's where empathy is sort of kicking in, kind of thing. Okay, this will be the last one. So prepare your voting fingers for my massive poll that I put out there. Prepare, because I've got to have somebody touch my poll. It just has to have. Look, one day I will stop making poll innuendo jokes, but it's not today. Am I the arsehole? External serve. Am I the asshole for accusing my husband of avoiding taking care of our new baby? Well, I don't think so. I mean, look, it used to be the case in traditionally, and I know this will annoy some people who are like traditionalists and stuff like that. Um, it used to be the case that okay, the man worked, the woman did all of the taking care of things. You know that was how it was, kind of thing. I think that in modern times that has shifted a lot. You know, it is just it is too much for one person to take care of all of that, and it's not. We don't, go off to work at the coalface for 12 hours a day kind of thing. We have limited work weeks, like 8-hour days and stuff like that. So I think that things have changed a lot in the years since man works at coalface for 18 hours a day, sleeps, or 12 hours a day, sleeps 8 kind of thing. It's changed a lot. And it used to be that people essentially lived almost where they worked. Like there wasn't really a commute back in the traditional days. There wasn't this, well, you've got to, go commuting, you've got to do shopping, you've got to do all of this stuff. Essentially, they just lived and worked in the same village where everything was, couple of minutes away. It was, this whole traditional idea of what you would do has changed radically. So I think that, I get if you're a stay-at-home mum that you would probably be doing the vast majority. I get that. But it's not a case where you can just say, well, that's your job anymore and I do my job. I think that modern times has changed that dynamic, mostly with limited work weeks, with a lot more emphasis on education, and a lot more emphasis on relationships between parents and children. Like if you're not interacting with your child, ages ago, it was sort of, well, big deal. Like your child just gets raised by the mother and that's all. You don't, you're the man, you don't expect to interact with the child. But we know that that's not great now. Like the child needs interaction with both of their parents. So yeah, I get why that would be a problem. But let's get into it and find out. That's my first thoughts on it. Let's get into it and find out. Locked, new comments. Sorry, this post has been removed by the moderators. Okay, well, that's fun. That's ridiculous. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's too controversial. Maybe taking care of your son is just too controversial. Irina Vibe. Oh wait, it's okay. I won't consider that an aimbot thing. I'll do another one. Am I the asshole for refusing to cover my tattoos for my boyfriend's family dinner? No. Who has a problem with tattoos? What the hell? Look, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe they're in an upper class relationship or something. Tattoos are tattoos, man. Like, just deal with them. They're just a part of art. I don't get that. The title sounds like weaponized incompetence. Yeah. So weaponized incompetence, I love that concept. It's where you do something so badly all the time that you're never asked to do anything again. My favorite thing is probably malicious compliance, right? Malicious compliance is like taking people at their word, but doing exactly what they say in order to punish them for asking it in the first place. It's kind of like, the whole genie thing where you ask, to have $1 million and you're buried beneath it. That taking things really literally kind of thing is malicious compliance. So when somebody says, don't take my food from the fridge, and then they ask you to get something from the fridge and you say, sorry, I've been told not to take food from, you know what I mean? Like this whole thing of complying with what they say in such a malicious way. That's my favorite. But yeah, you're right. It does sound like weaponized incompetence. Yeah. You know what? I think, okay, so my first thoughts on this is if someone has tattoos, they are That's part of them, right? That is, it's like saying, oh, well, I don't like that you have moles, so could you please cover them up? Why? That is part of them. You can't just say, hey, I don't like the way that you look, so can you please put a paper bag on your head to go to the table? No. Why are you with them if you don't accept them? Accepting someone and loving something is accepting them with everything they have, including their flaws. Okay, tattoos may be flaws, but if you're going to be with them, accept them for who they are. They have those tattoos. That is just the way they are. If they don't like their tattoos, they get to cover them up. You can't say, hey, I don't like your tattoos, please cover them up, because that is part of who they are. That's just it. Sorry. Okay, maybe if they have like a swastika or something, maybe. But in that case, if they said no, this swastika is part of who I am, I wouldn't be with them, quite frankly. Am I the arsehole? Yep. I'm a 21 female, a girl who has several tattoos, some big and quite visible. Sure. Why not? My boyfriend, 26 male, met me like that and hadn't had any problem with it. Yeah, that's an issue. Like, does he love you or does he not? And if your tattoos are part of you, then does he love you or does he not? Like, that's the thing about having a wife or a partner. People are going to have flaws. If the worst flaws your girlfriend has is tattoos, you've gotten off lightly, quite frankly. That's fantastic. That's nothing. Like, that's just a physical thing. Who gives a shit? If you love them, that will mean nothing. This is the thing. She's not a serial killer, presumably. She's not, a kleptomaniac. She's not, beating you around the head with a frying pan. She's just got tattoos. Who gives a fuck? Who cares? It's like saying, oh, well, she's missing a finger. Who gives a fuck? That means nothing. Literally nothing. Oh, it's such a... Why? He invited me to go to dinner with his family and I accepted, but he casually mentioned, maybe you could wear something with sleeves just so we don't start any drama. She wouldn't be the one starting drama. That would be your family. I asked what he meant, and he said his grandparents are very old school and might not react well to my tattoos. Look, you don't have control over what other people do. You only have control over what you do. He said he didn't want the night to be awkward. Well, that's hardly her fault. I told him I wasn't going to hide part of myself to make his family more comfortable. Absolutely. You go, girl. Yeah, absolutely. You're not going to... This is you. If the grandparents don't accept you, that's their problem. Absolutely. Like, what the hell? I told him I was going to hide part of myself. And why should you? Because they don't like it? They're not the ones, with you as a girlfriend. What if the grandparents are like, oh, we don't understand tattoos, and you're still awesome? Are they just going to say, oh, we don't like you even though you're an awesome person? Who knows? That's not your problem. He said it's not about hiding, it's about respect. Oh, you mean, I told him respect goes both ways. Yeah, I was just about to say, like, the respect of accepting somebody for who they are and not how they look. Right, you mean like that? Respect? And I shouldn't have to pretend to be someone I'm not. This girl is awesome. 21? Don't worry about it, girl. You'll do better. You deserve better. He got upset and said I was overreacting and making it a bigger deal than it is. No, you're making it a bigger deal than it is. The guy is making it they're just tattoos. They're just visible tattoos. The grandparents need to understand that it doesn't make you a bad person. Like, I understand they may be in the mindset that tattoos means you're a bad person or a MS-13 gang member or something. You've got to understand that that is not the case. That this woman is herself and not anything because you think it is. Like, seriously. Quantum ducks say quack, quack. I told him that I would go to the dinner, but that I wouldn't cover my tattoos. But then he asked me to please not attend. That if I was only going to be difficult, it would be better not to be there. What the hell? That really rubbed me the wrong way and made me feel confused, because I think maybe I did behave badly and I shouldn't have reacted so vehemently against the idea. No, that's absolutely fair enough. That's absolutely fair enough. I don't want to cause drama with his family, but I have a hard time feeling comfortable in my skin and learning to deal with the stigma people have towards me because of my tattoos. Only ignorant people. And I don't want to go back and hide again. Plus, I don't think I'd be honest with the family either if I show myself as I am not. So am I the asshole for refusing to covering my tattoos for the dinner? No, absolutely not. Like, you shouldn't have to pretend to be someone else. This is so toxic. It's so unhealthy to say, hey, I'm going to cover up and pretend to be something else. What if they were racist and thought that Asians, like, would you be trying to change how your eyes look so, you know, because they didn't approve? That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely. I am offended on your behalf, quite frankly. Look, you shouldn't have to pretend to be somebody else. And I'm very disappointed in this guy. He should be standing up for her and saying, hey, yeah, she's got tattoos, but she's an awesome person and I love them. And their tattoos, they don't make her a bad person, you know. Should the poster have covered her tattoos? And it's a big thing. Like, getting somebody to accept you is a big thing. Like, wow. I just don't understand why people would think that. So what, you've got ink? Who gives a like? No one cares. That's the thing. It's only people who are old and stuck in a certain mind frame that actually care. You know, nobody else cares. I don't know. It's wild. Anyway, my poll is up. Phrasing. So feel free to touch my poll. Smack my poll. Hi, and Acrylic says, I don't think anyone is the asshole. It just seems like your values don't align on this issue. He values not rocking the boat and you value individual expression. There's also the expectation that if his family starts saying nasty things about you, it's his duty as the bridge between you and them to defend you and handle that conflict, which is a form of labor he might not be ready, willing, able to do at this point. I suggest you both sit down, explain what your needs are and not being met, and find some way to honor both your perspectives. It might be that you cover your tattoos the first time you go and then don't cover them after a certain period of time, either after the first meeting or a set number of meetings. It might mean you cover your tattoos but find some time in the night to show them and bring them up. This is the perfect thing to practice in compromise and communication. Yeah, I kind of get that, but at the same time, I don't think that you should be having to cover up. It could be that both don't realize you're not right for each other. Yeah, it could be. But, you know, I don't think that you should be with somebody that you want them to cover up parts of their body that, you know, you don't approve of. Odontopodent says, I have full sleeves, been in this situation several times, and I've gone both ways with it. With the wisdom of your experience and age, I'd just cover it up. Not your partner's fault. His grandparents are narrow-minded and nothing he can do to change it. How much time do you expect to spend with them whilst they're still alive? Not the arsehole neither of you are, but do you desperately want to fight this one? If you win, he has to put up with their shit. Why bother? Doesn't achieve anything. How much do you really need them to know that you have tattoos? Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I guess it's deeper than that. You know, will you have to cover them up if work doesn't approve of them? Will you have to cover? I suppose that is a slippery slope argument, but I still think that morally you shouldn't ought to have to cover something like that up. Lorenza Pam says it depends on how much you expect to interact with his family and how important it is to you that they respect you. I have 2 jobs, one in childcare, one in elder care. I cover my tattoos where I work with the elderly because me expressing myself or whatever isn't important to me as making my clients feel comfortable. I just don't care that much if they accept me for me, and it's all indoors, so I cover them. At my childcare job, however, I always make a point to wear short sleeves on interviews because I'll inevitably have to be at a park doing messy craft with my sleeves rolled up or whatever, and I'm not going to be physically uncomfortable for such a large portion of my life just to appease someone's values around tattoos. And when it comes to kids, I'd like to encourage self-expression and acceptance where elderly are where they are, and there's not much I can do about it. If it was me, I'd make sure it wasn't my boyfriend's veiled way of communicating that he doesn't like tattoos. Find out what this means as far as his boundary with family. How often is he going to prioritize you over family, and to what extent, and how important it is for him for you to all to get along. He's extremely close with them, and you'll see them a lot. Then it might simply be a deal breaker. You can't expect to cover parts of yourself so often. But if it's truly just, hey, I see these people like twice a year and to be a whole thing, so can you just cover them? I'd definitely just cover them. Okay, well, I mean, the tattoo people are saying it's not that great big a deal. I get you, but I don't know. I just feel like we shouldn't ought to have to cover up who we are in order to be accepted by other people, even if that is old people. Is there something you're not including? Like, why can't the grandparents see tattoos? Why would it be disrespectful for them to see? Some older people find tattoos really offensive for some, God's sake. Yeah, no, I get you. Some older people is like, you know, they have to be in a gang if you have tattoos, and that's not the case anymore. It may have been the case in their day, but it's not the case anymore. Like if you have ink on your skin, you're automatically a no good, broke degenerate. The poster said he simply says they're old school people and that I'd respect their values and not make them uncomfortable. I don't know why that would make someone uncomfortable. It's a pretty common attitude toward body mods in very religious families. That's true, actually. Like, what is it? The Jehovah's Witnesses, they won't take blood things and they won't get tattoos and stuff. They find it, you know, sacrilegious to do that to your body kind of thing. So I can understand that. I really can. So maybe that's, I don't know. I would have just covered my tattoos. I don't have a lot. Not showing from the first time you meet doesn't mean not showing them forever. I agree. I feel like this is being blown out of proportion. Both my husband and I have tattoos, him more than me and more visible. The first time I met my parents, he wore a long sleeve shirt. Of course, time passed and that changed. I don't know. Sometimes you do things just traditionally out of respect. Yeah, you're kind of putting on a show, but it's your potential in-laws, not your potential best friends. Yeah, okay. So I don't know. I still think that at the end of the day, expecting people to cover up um, cover up what they have on their bodies is just I don't think it's the moral thing to do. I think that people should be accepted for who they are. I get maybe that it might be better just to not rock the boat, but at the same time, you know, you're basically trading uncomfortability, right? You're saying, hey, they should be comfortable. What about her? Shouldn't she be comfortable as well? If she's uncomfortable covering them up, then what are we talking about here? If it's going to cause a problem, it seems like, oh, well, because they're old and belligerent, they get their way. Is that the best thing as well? Should they not be learning that, hey, they can't get their way all the time? Like, part of me thinks that, especially for the boomer generation, like they've just gotten their way every single step of the way and they're just used to it. You know, you can't always get what you want. Cue house theme music. You know, it's just, I think some of these boomers, all their life, they've gotten the job they want, they've gotten the house they want, they've gotten everything they want. And, you know, so they get upset when they don't get things the way that they want. Like, that's life, baby. That's what happens. Sometimes you really want something and you just don't get it. You know, is that, can we teach them that in their old age? Maybe not. I don't know. but they certainly should freaking learn at some point. Let's see. Jessica said legal restrictions on women employment options were eradicated in the 70s. Yeah, kind of. It's really interesting, though. When we look back on women's rights and when I think in the US, women could only have their own bank account by law in the 70s or 80s or something. Like, it's actually wild, you know. Yes, 74 was the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. So before that, they didn't have the right to get credit, basically. Like they couldn't have a bank account legally. The bank could allow them legally, right? So before then, in the 60s, they were able to open a bank account as long as the bank said, yeah, that's fine. They could legally give them one, but they didn't have the legal right to have one like a man until the 70s, 74, which is just wild, just incredibly wild. It is something that only changed very recently. And it's sort of something that we don't think about. Like, you know, a woman goes into a bank and the bank says, no, we're not going to give you a bank account because you're a woman. Only in the 70s was that changed, you know, like 50 years ago was that changed, which is wild, right? You'd imagine that that's been that way for ages, that the bank can't just say, hey, you're a woman, you're not allowed a bank account. But that's how it used to be. And the bank could say, okay, we're going to give you a bank account because you're a fine, upstanding member of the community. Or they could say, no, you're not allowed one. And you know, or they could say, hey, you've got to get permission from your husband. Like, seriously, this 50 years ago, wild. Let's see. Ink is sacred. We know where Jedi's position on tattoos is. Ink is sacred. Andrew says, I'm not fond of tattoos, so there can easily be too many for one person. Yeah, you know, I think that's a personal thing, but sure. Andrew also says the ink doesn't bug me. I have a high pain threshold. No, that's fair. Andrew also says, and that's just scratching rally. I kind of enjoy it as my lady does it during lovemaking. Even if she draws blood, I don't flinch. Okay, well, no worries. Hey, you do you. You do you, Andrew. Jessica says, are they like hentai tattoos? I don't think so. If it was hentai, it wouldn't be a problem. Hentai come off, don't they? I mean, don't hentai come off? Don't they, like, you know, fade away or something? They just fade over time. Tilting says, I've got a tiny tattoo in a place that could never be seen by my parents. My inner lower ankle, and nevertheless, my mum saw it within the first few months. Incredible. So I get the family tattoo issue. No, that's fair. Exceptionally average says she's not dating his grandparents, so she shouldn't have to cover them. Sure. Anja says, I heard a Reddit story of a malicious compliance where the boss was demanding information about the person's medical appointment in order to excuse them. OP gave very graphic detail of their psych appointment. Problem solved. Yeah. Yep. I have two. One is the Elder Craft World Sam Hain, and the other is a Flame Knot design. Cool, Left-Handed Joe. Look, I haven't got any tattoos. I do not like needles in the slightest. I really dislike needles. I would probably say at one point in my life I had a phobia of needles. I think that I think that, you know, it's just now it's just sort of I really dislike them. But you know, I have no wish to have needles. And the weird thing is that, like, I watch, like, you know, there was an episode, like, there was the movie Saw 2 where a lady fell into a thing of hypodermic needle. No, that absolutely freaked me out at the time I first saw that. I could probably watch it, but I wouldn't like it. I really don't like needles. But the weird thing is that, you know, people getting stabbed or, you know, stuff, it really doesn't worry me at all. Oh, I've got a super chat here. Max, thanks, Maximiliano, for 5 Singaporean dollars. Says, can't stay, but I want to drop by and wish everyone a fantastic day and rest of the week. Oh, hi, Mark. Hi, Max. Good to see you, mate. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. I just have to find where I was again. Andrew says, I love a floor. They are freaking hot. My ex, hers was a gap between her teeth. Fucking loved it. Made her so much hotter. I kind of agree. Yeah. I don't, you just love people for their flaws as well as for their, the things that are good. And I totally get that. It's something, flaws make people unique. They're unique to you. Yeah. Quirks make us unique. Well, they kind of do. Antja says grandparents need to grow up and they need to be told as such. I kind of agree, Antja. I think that, the older generations, I think that, there's nothing worse than seeing somebody who's 60 or something acting like a 4-year-old when told they can't do something. There's nothing worse. Like, it's just terrible. And Purple says maybe if they were tattoos, it would be pushing it, but tattoos shouldn't be a problem. What are tattoos? Oh, gotcha. All right. That took a second to think in. Tattoos, but tattoos shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, well, they do say two's company and three's a crowd. So, Tilting Windmill says, I 100% agree with the girl, but I understand what the guy is going through regarding his family. Yeah, I suppose I'm coming from a place where, I've really stood up to my family as far as them, like my parents making me do things and things like that. I've really stood up to them in the past and said, no, I will choose my own life. So I suppose there is that relationship doesn't exist between all people. Antja says, this guy's throwing up so many red flags. Dump him, get out, not worth the trouble. Yeah, I don't know about that, Antja. I don't know about that. I get what you're saying. It could be a red flag. I think it's a minor red flag. I don't think it's sort of enough to dump somebody. But I think that, if he's adamant that you have to cover yourself up, I think it could turn into it. Yeah. I get what you're saying. And I do kind of agree. It at least is, well, he's not prepared to stand up to his grandparents for me and what's important to me. Yes, a little bit. I get you. Andrew says, well, I kind of care. There can be too much ink. Yeah, but that's personal preference, really. I totally get that you wouldn't, that person with too much ink, you may not be with them because it's too much for you. It's not your preference kind of thing. But I don't understand being with someone, having them as a partner, but not presenting them to your family because it's too much ink. I'm not sure about that one. It's a small price to play for tattoos. Well, I think tattoos are quite expensive if you get them done properly. So I don't know. I don't know if that's true. 60% of the time, it works every time. The J Pasic said the user goes by lorazepam. Well, I'm not prepared to judge. I mean, my wife goes by Sarah Quell on here, so I'm not prepared to judge that. Plus, that's a ringier vibe, right? I mean, the user that was commenting, sure. Like a few tats can be cute, but a lot to me ruins the beauty of the female form. Well, that's just subjective, right? That is just a subjective thing. Some people think that the body entirely tattooed is the most beautiful. That's entirely subjective. But I would have a problem if you said, well, to me, it's fine having a ton of tats, but I'm not going to introduce them to your parents or something like that. That's not cool. Exceptionally average says old people with tattoos are not that uncommon. Yeah, and it's not all old people. You know, there's some people that are absolutely fine. It's just more the, you know, there is some very judgmental people. And like one Redditor commented, a lot of them are religious. Like Jehovah's Witnesses have a massive problem with tattoos. So, you know. Andrew says, I've drawn and given a few tats. Okay, that's fair. Purple Rhinestone says it could also depend on what the tattoos say. Like if you have one that says "fuck the police" and his father is a police officer, that is true. I didn't think about that, but yes. But I'm not gathering that this is because of the content of the tattoos. I think it's because of the tattoos itself, right? Like I think it is because of the tattoos, not the content, is what I'm gathering from this. But it is a good point, Purple. That definitely some of the stuff, you know. Jay Pasic says one of my old roommates from when I was in the army actually made himself obese so he had more skins to do. And yeah, that's his skin, his you know, his choice. Sure, I'm totally sure. You do you, absolutely. Purple Rhymes Orange says the boomers were the greatest generations, or so they told us. Yeah, no, they're adamant that they were the greatest generation. Yes. Andrew says it's not just a look I like, but like I said, if to me a few can be cute, full body is too much for me. Like you do you, but they'd have to be one hell of a special person to my heart that I'd date some. No, that's fair. No, that's fair. No, totally understand. Total Windmill says the first impression situation with the grandparents who are going to be closed off to the girl the moment they see the ink and give no future redeem. Do the parents care? How often to see the grand? Yeah, and that is a good point. Like if you only see them once a year, it may not be the biggest deal, and you might not want to die on that hill. I get you, but it still is the whole idea that hey, they may not accept you because of what's on your skin is a bit like that's a bit shitty, quite frankly. I really think so. Boomers are brats. I agree, exceptionally average. I think that a lot of them just, you know, because they're the greatest generation and have gotten a lot of what they want, they just, you know. And I mean, you look at the boomers in America, and they're voting for Trump, and they're the reason why we're not progressing. It's just frigging awful. Like seriously, I think they've got a lot to answer for as far as keeping us like regressive and conservative in the weeds. Purple says it was still some time after that women could get credit cards. Passing a law did not instantly eliminate discrimination. Well, yeah, true, Purple. I'm really just talking about legally rather than in practice. I get you, though. Just madness, you know. Like you think about that, just absolutely. Like I think about, you know, my female friends not being able to get a credit card or a bank account, and just you know, it's just something that boggles the mind. JPAS says, old people, sometimes you can just live too long. Yeah, and I think it's just that non-acceptance that thing is going to change, Jay, that they just go, well, it was like this in my day, so it should be like that forever. Things change. Like, if there's one life lesson I have learned is that everything changes and you have to accept change because you can't keep it the same. You can't. Things will change. It's just a fact of life. That's henna, not hentai. Got you. Were the tattoos hentai? Got you. So was it tentacle girls? I doubt it. Because if it was something offensive or something, you know, you'd expect them to go, yeah, no, I understand that. I don't think it was. I think it's just the fact that she has tattoos. Andrew said, but what my parents thought I wouldn't care if I was dating her and had tats, I obviously already like her and her tats not bugging me. So hell no, if she doesn't want to cover them up, she doesn't have to. Yeah, and I would agree. Henna tattoos are temporary, hentai are pornographic anime. Yeah, got you. No, I understand now. Yes. And I should have picked up on that. I just misread it. JPaz says, I remember my wife telling me to watch my swearing around her paternal grandfather. In the meantime, there's her father watching a football game, complain using words like sucker and fuck. Yeah, it's a bit of a thing. Eh? Check out r/true Christian. Why am I doing this thing? Why would I want to be doing this? Ugh, really? Jesus saved me from transgenderism? Oh, fuck off. The reaction to all section of Christians today has been genuinely disgusting. Statement from Mel Gibson about the Pope Francis. Why would I be in here? The devil is so stupid. I lost my beloved pet cat. I'm still giving my all to God. So many Christians are going to hell. Why would I be looking at this nonsense? This is just nonsense. Ugh. Ew. No, that's horrific. Jessica said, I always said that I would really like to get a tattoo, but I cannot think of any symbol, image, or word that I would want to be permanently on my body. Yeah, I know the feeling. Like, the idea of a tattoo has appealed to me once or twice, but, I don't know what I'd put on there. Maybe a yin yang, the old sort of Taoism symbol, perhaps. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, I don't think I'm committed enough to really go for it. So I get what you mean. Purple says, meeting my family was my late fiance's idea. I would have been okay with never meeting them myself. No, that's fair. That's fair. Yep. Jessica says, my whole job is just one never-ending malicious compliance. My boss is constantly giving me instructions. I know that it is a slower, inefficient way to do it, but I do it the way I'm told. Yeah, that's fair. That's 100% fair. And it's stuff like that, yeah. If old people are such a problem, why do we keep replacing them? I don't know, Purple. I think it just happens like that. Andrew says, I actually get crap once in a while because I don't have a tattoo. Really? Well, I mean, it might have something to do with you being an artist. I'm not an artist, so people don't give me crap. And I think if people gave me crap for not having a tattoo, I'm not sure I'd even notice, quite frankly. Boomer's a big reason why we can't have nice things. Yeah. Yep. There's tons of hilarious ones. Well, the ones that I saw straight up were just horrific, mate. So I really, I don't, that starting one. No, I'm not doing like why Jesus saved you from being trans. No, absolutely not. That is disgusting. Jessica says, I work in a supermarket, shelf stacking. Gotcha. Yep. Hello to Freak. Jessica says, yes, Mel Gibson, the man who has the most nuanced and thoughtful opinions on religion. Yeah, when even, when he's sober, he doesn't have the best takes on things, much less when he's, frequently absolutely falling over drunk. Ugh. And I mean, these are all people that supported Trump to get in. Yeah, it's absolutely nonsense. And Andrew's just saying hi to people. Okay, well, I mean, that's your guys' opinions. I get it. I personally think that she shouldn't have to cover up who she is. And the fact is that tattoos are meaningful to some people. I mean, some people just have tattoos. Oh, it's just a thing that I did. Some people have tattoos because it represents a significant moment in their life, right? So some people get tattoos to mark the birth of a child, or they have overcome some kind of trauma or something that's happened to them. I don't judge them. Some people get over trauma by, me. I go to psychotherapy. I get tools to help me think about how I think about things, how I relate to things, how I visualize and adapt and overcome things. Some people have tattoos to help them on that process, and they're very meaningful to them. So I think that you shouldn't have to cover up who you are. And if that image, that tattoo is meaningful to you, I'm 100% on board. Like that is who you are, and that is what you present to the world, and you shouldn't have to cover it up. So I think I would go for not the asshole on this one kind of thing. Okay. So what the third poster is completely right. Yeah, I would have to agree. I would have to agree. I really would. I really good. Okay. Well, that is that one, and that was the last one I was doing. But thank you so much for joining me. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for everybody for coming to the chat. It was really good to see you, and doing these live and talking with you is why I do these things. But we'll be back next week for another AIMBOT. Tomorrow, if you are a member of the channel, it will be Mark After Dark, and I'll just be doing a casual stream. I will probably be continuing the stream that I did last week. And I am playing Warhammer Total War. If you are a member, feel free to join me. If you're not, consider being a member, and then you can come and join in on the fun. And I'll be taking questions, talking to people, doing whatever, laughing, having a casual chat. So if you do want to be in on that, consider joining. If not, well, I definitely will see you on my Friday for Fundamentalist Fails. That's going to be a lot of fun. And afterwards at 11 o'clock p.m. Australian Western time, I will be talking to the Apostate Sisters on their channel. So I'll get a link for that, because that's not my channel, of course, that's somebody else's channel. And it should be fantastic as they, basically what happened was I contacted them saying, hey, I love your channel. I love what you do. I love all of the hope that you put across getting out of cults and, deconstruction kind of stuff. Like they actually have a very good insight into what it means to be convinced of that their cult is actually, the amazing thing. I wanted to talk to them. So I hit them up saying, hey, do you want to come on my show and I'll talk to you? And they said, well, we were gonna talk to you actually. And so this is sort of, I said, well, hey, I'm happy to go on your show. They came on mine first. That is up on the channel. I don't see a scheduled one in here, so I'll just put in their main channel for the Apostate Sisters, but I will be talking to them and we'll see what's up, because that should be a lot of fun. So I'll throw that in for the Apostate Sisters. Apart from that, we'll be back next week with more AIMBOT. If you did have a fun time, please do like and subscribe. If not, that's okay too. That's a personal choice, and I totally get it. But I would really appreciate it, because it does help out the channel. Don't forget, as always, try to be kind to yourself. Don't be harsh on yourself. We all make mistakes. Don't be harsh. Be kind to yourself and say, hey, yeah, screwed up. I can make amends for this. Try to communicate with people. If you're upset with people, try to say, hey, not happy about this. But try not to blame them so much as saying, hey, I would prefer this thing to happen because I feel upset or I feel bad without it. But do always be kind to yourself. Try to be kind to others. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
This old switchboard could talk. Wow. Your ears would sizzle. 1880. We take Alexander Graham Bell's invention for granted today. Perhaps we should. But isn't it incredible that millions and millions of people can talk simultaneously to practically any spot on Earth?